Great interview today with Paul Reiser. He's formerly known as the Sonic Guy. You might have come across his channel right here on YouTube. And up until recently, Paul owned and managed 38 Sonic restaurants, which he has recently sold. And Paul's got some great information for aspiring entrepreneurs. So stay tuned for tips on business building, dealing with customers, running a business, and a whole lot more.
Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Robert. Man, it's good to be here.
Absolutely. And we're excited to have you on today. We have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs that watch the channel, and I think your story is going to be helpful, and I think it's going to be inspiring. So why don't we start right at the beginning? How you ended up owning 38 Sonics, and we'll give Sonic a plug too. What was it about Sonic that you liked that gravitated you towards them?
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of a backstory. Anyone that gets 38 businesses doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process. But the reason my family, it's actually a family business for us. I was in partners with my 5 brothers and sisters and my dad. And so it started out because when my dad was a kid, he was incredibly poor. He was number 7 of 8 kids, lived in a 1-bedroom house, really, the American success story. So I hope this is going to be, inspiring or encouraging to folks, because he always thought the way I'm going to get out of this is to get into business. He was that kid that would sell candy out of his locker between classes. His dad gave him a quarter for lunch, but he made a deal with a restaurant close to the school. So he would walk there, wash dishes during lunch, put the quarter in his pocket. So he was that guy that always wanted his own business, making deals. And he finally got his big break, I guess, in 1976. He was able to get into the Sonic business. He was in his late 30s at that time, but moved the whole family from Hutchinson, Kansas to Monroe, Louisiana, because that's where the opportunity was. And so we were that family where the mom and dad work all the time and the kids all work in the restaurant. So it makes you a little uncomfortable. I was 12 years old, car hopping. Totally illegal, Robert. I get it. But I was a cute kid, so I made good tips. So it worked out. Grew up literally in the business, inside the Sonic. I would play in there. I slept in the back seat of the car, so they could keep an eye on me. But when I grew up, I stayed in the business, and so did my brothers and sisters. But we would partner individually. So I would own half a Sonic, and my dad would own the other half. And same thing with my brothers and sisters. My sisters started marrying really smart guys, luckily, and they got into the business as well. But at one point in about 2001, I said, what if we form a management company and we start working together as a team and grow these things? So we did that. And over the next 10 years, we were able to grow from 13 Sonics to 38 Sonics. But it was quite a run.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you weren't just, passive operator, check in periodically. Love your channel, by the way. So it's so much really fun content. It looked like you enjoyed it. But what's it like being involved in the day-to-day and running 38 restaurants? So many different personality types. Must have been crazy. What's that like?
Oh man, yeah. So for us, it was, I mean, you had to work in the Sonic. That's the only way it was. We weren't a big company. We didn't have funding. So it was each individual Sonic had to stand on its own. So I ran my own Sonic for 2.5 years. Then I decided this is what I wanted to do. I was able to, borrow the money to buy out my dad's partner. So I ran a drive-in for a couple of years, and we all did. That's just the way my dad's plan was. If you're going to, you can't run it unless you know how to run them. But what happens is you eventually have to replace yourself. If you want to run 2, you have to have 2 people run it. So we were able to, be kind of like-minded, a lot of communication, a lot of hard work. But as we developed, it was very important to develop people within the business that could take over as managers. And then once you get to 5 or 6, then you have to have supervisors. And it was just a long growth process. But the day-to-day was, my wife always said when we were first married, she said, you're like a doctor. I mean, 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, they call you up, the Coke machine's out, you're gone. Yeah, I got to go to Walmart, buy Coke. We got to fix it. So it is a very much a grind. Any restaurant business is. Fast food is especially a grind. But as you grow, all you can do is develop people. But it's always for us to be successful. And we were pretty successful. We had 38 drive-ins. We were one of the larger franchise groups. We got all the way up to number 3 ranking in Sonic as far as quality drive-in business, which is why we'll talk later why we were able to sell the business. But the secret to success for us was developing people, staying in contact with the people, knowing the business, and being, even though we weren't, toward the end, there's no way they would let me in the kitchen. They're like, Mr. Paul, get out of the kitchen. You are just making a mess. It was at that point, it was my business to borrow money, to find sites, to build Sonics. But early on, and you certainly always had to know that you were developing people, and the secret, the real important thing was that connection with the guest. So unless you had nice people dealing with your customers and nice people dealing with your employees, then you weren't going to have a successful business.
So what would you say your biggest challenges are, or I should say were in the business?
Were, yeah. No, I hate to gloat that we sold them all. It was tough and wonderful at the same time, but we can talk about that. The toughest thing in any business these days, and actually always has been, is finding help, finding good employees. I hate to say the word good employees because I think good employees is a reflection of good management, but just finding employees, people that want to come to work, especially in a tough environment. And then the next step above that, it's even harder to find great managers. And so that was the challenge in 1976. It was a challenge in 2001 when I took over, and it's the challenge now today. It's always creating an environment that attracts good people that want to work there and be good to your guests.
Absolutely. And speaking of environment, yeah, your videos, I'm going to go back to those again. Looks like you're always having a ton of fun on there. I'm sure it wasn't always the case, but they're always looking like you're enjoying every single day. Any situations that stick out in your mind, just fun stuff that were memorable?
Well, it's really up to us to create that fun environment. Again, it all goes back to the leadership. And yeah, you're not always having a great day, but nobody else needs to know that. And if you pretend like you're having a good day, eventually you begin to believe it because the people around you have a better day. In the Sonics, that's all real. When I'm going into those drive-ins in the videos, that's me walking in, and everybody knows me. At least the managers and assistant managers know me. Across 4 states, it's hard to get to every drive-in, but you just you have to bring that energy. And when you bring it, then that reflects it in the people that you're working with. And a lot of people aren't hype guys like me, but you got to just create a positive environment and help people to be the best they can be so they enjoy their work. And that comes through training. So that kind of went way around. When you asked me, what do I do to, what's the most enjoyable thing? For us in Sonic is a very fun, it's expected to be fun. You see the roller skating car hops, it's got the 50s style of drive-in. So in order to make that happen for us, we did a lot of training. Sonic Corporate does a lot of competitions between drive-ins. So we competed nationally with all the drive-ins every year. We had a really good time with that. It's a great training tool. We made it to number 2 one time. We had our skaters, we created videos of our skating car hops, and that's how you enter into the national competition, which you might want to check out one of those videos where we're making one of those videos. It's a lot of fun showing our car hop actually making it to gold medal national champs. So we had car hops that were competing on the national level every year, and we have crew rallies every year where we bring people together because we really want it to be a fun environment. We were a family business, and we wanted all our 1,300 employees to feel like they were part of the family, and we felt like they were. So that's how we made it fun, and that's what was funnest for us, was just people.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely show a clip for sure. And let's discuss that point a little more. I think it's so important. A lot of people just think it's secondary, but company culture, it starts absolutely at the top. How would you explain your business philosophy? Like anytime you see someone who's had success, they build a big company, there's always some sort of a philosophy behind it, some, driving ideology or whatever you want to call it. But what would you say was yours?
Right. Well, people say that I'm old fashioned. They say I'm a boomer. They say I'm out of touch, but it's because the things we did are things that are not popular and they're hard to do. And so, but that's why we made it to number 3 in the whole chain of 350 drive-ins. And the only two people that were better than us even doubled down on the philosophy I'm about to tell you more. And the reason we were able to sell for a really remarkable multiple that 7 families were able to retire on. So what I'm about to tell you, it may sound old-fashioned, but it is how you're successful in business. And we boiled it down as best we could, just 2 words: service. That's 3 words. Never mind. Service as the solution. You've got to give great service. You've got to focus on great service. And the only way your crew is going to give great service is if you give great service to your crew. So that internal customer is so important, because they'll never treat your customer better than you treat them. So you really have to have that respect for your employees. You have to train them. You have to make them comfortable. You have to be nice to them so they'll be nice to your guests. And we also have to sign up in every drive-in. We started this in the 80s. My dad's big deal says the answer is yes. What's the question? When a guest has a problem, you say, "I'm so sorry. How can I help that? How can I help you with that? How can I fix that for you?" Yes, absolutely, we'll fix that. Yeah. So those two philosophies are what made us be 30% higher average volume than the other 3,500 Sonics.
Yeah. And as simple as it sounds, not as easy in practice. And I think this would be a good cue up for your Pickle Guy video. We're going to throw that on there.
That's absolutely. So that's a true story. So I make these little videos. So I make short videos about customer experiences that I had. I try to, my videos are all about edutainment. I try to make educational, but I try to make them kind of fun. And if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you hate me. And it's amazing that when I make these videos that I think, how could this be controversial? I'm saying, here's a customer that was upset. I'll be nice to him and he'll go away happy. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people get on the keyboard and like, "I can't believe you were nice to that guy. You're enabling Karens. Your people won't admire you anymore. Your people lose all respect." Well, let me tell you why I do that. So in this particular situation, a guy came in. I'm standing in my drive-in, and I see outside this big pickup truck. And if you're in Louisiana, 80% of the cars are big pickup trucks, but this is a specially jacked up black pickup truck. He's pulling out, and as he pulls out, he cranks over to the side of the driveway, gets out, and I see this big Toby Keith looking guy, big guy, cowboy hat. He comes out, he's got his food in his hand. He's storming in, the drive-in. I'm like, oh my gosh, what have we done to this guy? So he comes in, and we're watching him. I'm looking at my crew behind me. I said, "You guys got my back, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got you." And he finally comes in, and he slams his food on the counter, and he says, "I said no pickles." No, really? So this guy sit there in shock for a minute, and I just turned immediately around to my crew, and I said, "Hey guys, give me a double cheeseburger, no pickles on the rush." And I just turned back around and looked at the guy, and most people would say, "Oh, I know, I wouldn't let him do that in my store." And I really found out that's why we were so successful, is because we were able, and this is what I taught constantly: don't react like that. You don't know why he had such a bad day. We don't need to start an argument that escalates, that ties everybody else up. Turned around. I looked at him and I said, "You must really hate pickles." And he kind of like, and then he's kind of embarrassed. Actually, he kind of got a little embarrassed, a little sheepish. We gave him his food. We gave him his money back. We gave him a coupon for a free burger on his next visit. Well, the people in the comments think that was the worst thing I could have possibly done. They said, "He's going to start stealing from you. You need to stand up for your crew." And the reason I do that is because they were able to see that no matter how bad the situation is, I'm not going to react. I'll protect myself. I'll protect them. And this was an over-the-top example, but they see that even in an over-the-top example that I practice what I preach. And now here's what really happens. They realize that no matter how bad that person comes in, they don't have to argue with them, because they're going to be wondering, okay, is this something I should argue about? Should I fight this guy or not fight this? The answer is always no. You never have to worry about fighting. So actually, I'm not making it harder on my employees because they can't stand up for themselves. I'm making it easier on them because they never have to decide, should I argue or not? The answer is always yes. Answer is yes. What's the question? And then you let that guy go. Don't let 3 minutes with a jerk ruin your life. Let him go, and then just go back to work. Take his $8 and let him go. So people hate me for that. For some reason, it's hilarious because I've got this 1 minute video and it has hundreds and hundreds of people hating me, but it has thousands of people saying, yes, I love it.
So yeah, I just wanted to give you an example of how crazy YouTube is along the same lines. There's videos out there, Arnold Schwarzenegger, arguably greatest bodybuilder in the world. He's working out. And below it are comments saying how he's doing it wrong. Right? And
yes.
These people are sitting in their basement, 120 pounds soaking wet. It's just crazy that people come out to YouTube. So, there should be if you're going to leave a comment, you should have to own a certain amount of restaurants. You should have to have that experience. But yeah, it's easy for people to say it, but better than anybody, bad feedback, the negativity that he would give if he got bad service would spread out to 10 people, 20 people, 30 people. It's just not worth it. Sometimes you just got to bite it and do what you have to do. So I think it's great.
The whole rest of the Sonic will think, because everyone else, what are they going to do? They're all going to stop work and they're going to go up to see what happens. If I do end up arguing with the guy or fight, or for heaven's sakes, if it gets violent, then what all the customers outside see that, it totally shuts down the whole business. It ruins it for everybody. And I might get hurt, or my assistants might get hurt. But what ended up happening was he was like, wow, I kind of overreacted. And he buys double cheeseburgers. So I want this guy to come back.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I would agree with that 100%.
So I teach these kind of things on my channel. I want to give people confidence of, look, I think the reason people react is because of their own we all kind of have a low self-confidence, and we don't ever want to think we're wrong. So when a person comes in, like when a car hop comes in, because a customer has just chewed them out because their order's wrong, that car hop comes in and says, y'all messed up again. Well, the cooks say, well, we didn't mess up. You took the order wrong, and it escalates so quickly. So my philosophy has always been, I'm so sorry. How can I fix that for you? Bring it in. We'll just fix it, because it just calms it down. And that's what I try to give people. You need to have more confidence in yourself, not to worry about one bad person or one bad thing. Focus more on the business and building up your team.
Absolutely. And I can't imagine that many employees, that many locations, the pressure that just there's always something, right? Even in smaller business that happens. So it must have been a whole lot of work.
Oh, people tell me I seem so much calmer. They're like, Paul, you're a different person. You just seem so serene. That's because I don't have, 10 supervisors constantly texting because the world's coming to an end in Dothan, Alabama.
Exactly. You guys were open, at least partially anyway, through COVID as well, right? So I'm sure that must have been a little hair raising at times. Do you have any tips for aspiring entrepreneurs of how they can stay focused and positive in pressurized situations?
I think a lot of people, the main thing is you got to have a plan ahead of time. If you always know the answer is yes, what's the question? And you always know don't react when a person's mad. We have certain acronyms: BLAST, believe, listen, apologize, solve, thank. You have it in line. The hardest thing for me to teach my crew is to believe the customer, because when that customer comes in and says something's wrong, the first thing they want to do is, let me see your receipt. We didn't make that wrong. You ordered it wrong. And the first thing you got to do is you just got to believe the guest, that they at least think what they're saying is true. And 2% of them might be lying, but pray for them. Let God sort them out. They will pay on Judgment Day. Get over it.
Exactly.
You don't have time to worry about that guy. So that's the biggest thing. Plan ahead of time. Know how you're going to react. Have these acronyms in place. Anytime you're not busy, you should be spending your time training other people. So what too many people do is they're running their business. Oh my God, it's so busy. It's so busy. As soon as it slows down, I need to smoke. What you need to do is, as soon as it slows down, now teach people what happened during that last rush. What could we have done better? Let's train people, teach people to give them confidence. Whenever there's a customer with a problem, the manager needs to go handle it. You need to take somebody with you to show them how to handle it next time. You need to be spending more time training than actually cooking, more time training than whatever it is that you're doing, so that you can duplicate yourself. Most people get tied up in thinking, and it happened to me, I was the worst of this, that I'm going to do this better than anybody. So I end up owning too many problems. And so the first thing you have to do is, the hardest thing is step back and let somebody else do it. Even if they mess up a little bit, then pull them back and say, let me get you out of this mess. Okay, now do it again. and realized that you have to replace yourself. I couldn't run 2 drive-ins until I replaced myself in the first. And then I had to find supervisors. And what took me the longest was to replace myself as president of the company. I really thought nobody could do that job until I hired Tony, which you definitely need to watch that video. What happened when I hired someone better than me? I learned so much, and the company was really able to grow to the next mark. So no matter where we are, we think we do it better than anybody. But the reality is we need to look and find somebody better than us, not a better person, someone who has the skills that we need to take us to the next level.
Right. Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Let's take a look at why you sold. I mean, you're super successful, a lot of locations, been doing it forever. What made you, and it must have been a tough decision, but what ultimately was the catalyst to sell?
Well, I will also say that it was a tough decision. It's a tough decision because we had 5 equal partners, and some of us wanted out, and some of us were scared to get out, and some of us didn't want out at all. So my other advice to someone going into business, especially if you have partners, especially family members, is plan ahead of time. How do we make decisions? Who's responsible for what? And what do we do when we disagree? And what's our exit strategy going to be? So we've always had, not always, for about the last 15 years, an exit strategy. And it's based on, what is the current valuation is going to be. So Sonic, one of the things that we always looked at is how much is a Sonic worth? And over the years, recessions and boom times, sometimes a Sonic's worth a lot and sometimes it's not worth anything. And all of a sudden, Sonics were worth a lot because the stock market was through the roof. If you'll remember, 3 years ago, the stock market was booming. Seemed like there was no end in sight. Everyone had money on the sidelines like crazy, and interest rates were 2%. So nobody could make money in the bank and nobody could make money in stocks. So big companies started wanting to buy medium-sized companies like ours with good cash flow, with high volume. 38 Sonics doing over $1.5 million a piece. We were a good thing that somebody wanted to buy. So we knew our valuations were high. We took that to me and my brother-in-law, that is our CFO. We took it to the whole family. We said, look, these are our valuations. And everyone said, yeah, we probably better look at selling this thing, just because the valuations were so high. And I'm the youngest of 5 partners, and I'm old. So I didn't want to do this thing by myself when they all, so it just time of life. We were older, valuations were super high, kind of a once in a lifetime, actually. And so it was just a good time for us to exit. And we had the Sonic set up really good. Every Sonic had a manager, every group had a supervisor, and we had a fantastic president in place to take over. If I was 30, man, I'd say, let's go build 30 more of these things. But
I mean, you want to enjoy the fruits of your labors at some point, right? I mean, it's hard to transition no matter what, but
it's been weird.
Yeah. We don't want to bash Biden's tax structure at all, do we?
What I had to do, okay, there's a video for that, actually, why we really sold our Sonics. There really is. One thing to help us make the decision, it was a hard decision to make, but one thing we said, okay, this was when Biden was running. This was before the election. And we're thinking, Biden, he's got a good chance he's going to make this thing. And if he does, he released his tax plan. And you can see on the tax plan that his capital gains tax was going to double. And so we're looking at going from paying, you buy a Sonic for $1 million and you sell it for $2 million. Well, that $1 million is profit. And now you got to pay 20% tax on that according to the capital gains tax. Well, he wanted to make it 40%.
Yeah. Welcome to Canada, by the way.
Yeah, Canada. I was in France. When you sell your Sonics, you go to France for a few weeks.
Yeah, that's
the taxes are there. Unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was definitely something we looked at. You have to be looking at everything. What are your valuations? What are the taxations going to be in the future? What are the interests? You always have to be balancing a lot of things. Nothing's ever just easy.
No, sir. Can't confirm with that. So what are your plans now? What are you going to do?
Man, like I said, I just got back from France.
Other than travel.
So, you can't just, I'm only 56, 54 when I sold them. I was already 56. So time's flying. I started making these YouTube videos a few years ago because I love video. My degree is actually video production, but I couldn't make any money at that. So I was making a lot of money flipping the burgers. So that's where I focused. And I loved making Sonic videos inside the Sonic. Sonic corporate said, we don't like you inside the Sonic. So I got out of the Sonic. And then I got busy with COVID, busy selling the stores. So now the funnest thing I did was making the videos. So I have done some property investing and different things, but I'm going to start making these videos. I really want to kind of help out and give back, like I say, more edutainment. So I'm going to start making a lot more videos on my channel, and I'm sure I'll figure out how to monetize that at some point. And then I'm also making a lot of videos at my church. I'm helping them with their YouTube channel. So
Awesome.
This is kind of what I'm doing, things that I really enjoy, Robert. And one thing that I enjoy is teaching. And I always had to have assistant managers in place, and they're always struggling with, how do I improve my leadership? How do I learn how to, run businesses better? How do I fix my finances? I'm always in financial trouble. So that's where I'm kind of going to go with my video channel, is trying to, help people. And like I say, I might just drive through a Chick-fil-A and 5 reasons I wouldn't buy it. Or I might just talk about how do we have a better self-concept so we can give better service and not beat ourselves up.
Cool. And speaking of Chick-fil-A, you actually interviewed a Chick-fil-A owner. I was asked 1,000,001 times, hey, can you interview a Chick-fil-A owner? I'm in Canada. I've got to, go 1,000,000 miles, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to put a link right above to your interview with a Chick-fil-A owner. So no one can bug me anymore for that. Very cool. So
I'm very fortunate. I have 1,000,000 friends that own 1,000,000 businesses, and everybody loves me to come in and make my little videos. So
very handy. Very handy. Cool. So I guess to wrap up, any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs, I guess in business in general, and maybe specifically people who are looking at a restaurant or have always dreamed of owning a restaurant?
Right. Well, franchise is a great concept, because when you buy a franchise, there's already a system in place. They do the marketing for you. You get mass buying power. And when you go to sell it, it's a lot easier to sell 38 Sonics than 38 Paul's Super Burger business. Who's heard of that?
I like the sound of that. Nice.
So it is easier to sell a franchise. I would say go in with the end in mind. Like I said earlier, have good communication with your partners, have a plan, and plan on selling it on day one. Not that you're gonna, but who is going to find this marketable? Who's going to want this? And they're not going to want it if you're the only one that can run it. The only way they're going to want it is if you can walk away from it and it's already, and it'll run itself. So start your exit on day one, even though it might be 30 years, 45 years like us. I would say the most important thing, my dad always says, pay your banker first. If there's anything left, eat. It is paramount. You've got to have good credit. You've got to have a good relationship with your banker, and they've got to trust you that you'll pay them back. So early on, the hardest thing we did was borrow money. Toward the end, I'm just turning people away. Like, no, I don't need any more money. But yeah, so that's what I would say. But mainly, I think a lot of people watching your channel are like, they maybe just think, one day, am I going to get a business? How could I get a business? I don't have any money. I can't buy, it cost me $2 million to build my last Sonic. But if you think you want to get into a business, you really need to say, hey, go work there. If it's a Sonic, if it's this new cookie crumble, that's like the hottest thing right now. If it's, food or whatever kind of business it is, they're hiring. So go work, a couple nights a week, a couple weekends a week. Just say, hey, look, I'm trying to pay down some debt. Can you hire me? They will say, yes. Here's your shirt on the way out. And go in and work 20 hours a week and see if you like it and pick up some of the skills, because you might find out you hate it. And what you really also need to find out is, do I like working 60 or 70 hours a week? Because that's what's going to happen when you run your business. They don't come in and help you out. Sonic didn't help us during COVID. Sonic won't help you if something happens. It's up to you. So it takes a lot of hours, especially early on. But anyway, that would be my thing. Don't neglect that. Don't just say, I really want to do it. I'm a great cook. I should open a restaurant. You might end up hating cooking once you get a restaurant. So go work there. Work there for 6 months. save a little money, find out if you like it. That time that you spend could save you millions of dollars.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's one of the things we do here is get people to step back a little bit and think about what they're going to be doing day to day. And so many people just, they have this romantic notion of, I'm going to be, shakes, cookies, sun shining through the window, money flying in. That's all they think about, right? They don't think of the day to day, the inventory, the spoilage, all these other things. So we try and get a reality check in there. And so very often, I won't just say sometimes, very often they go, oh yeah, let's switch gears and go in another direction. So yeah, great advice. You got to think about the operations, what you have to do, and actually working in there is a great idea as well. But I think a lot of people would be reluctant to do that, right?
It would, and if you're reluctant to do that, then that's your key. That is, you probably don't want to do it, because 8 out of 10 businesses fail in 10 years, and 5 in the first year. And the reason is, it's so much harder than it looks. It's not impossible, man. It's awesome. The best way to financial freedom, I think, is to own a business. Financial freedom. So good thing about owning your business, you get to work your 70 hours a week whenever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And people are like, oh, you hokey old boomer. But I'm okay. Don't believe me. Go do it. Good luck. But you're going to be sadly disappointed if you think you can just hire somebody to run your business for you and you can go to the house. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, good stuff. Cool. I'll place a link down to your channel below. Highly encourage people to get over there and check it out. Great channel. Anything you want to add before we wrap up today?
Hey, I would love for people to make comments under that to say if it was helpful, if they think I'm a boomer and I'm way disconnected. I love it because that'll make your video go viral. But also, what would you like to hear about on a channel like mine? What advice would you like me to give? What would you like me to go to more restaurants and just check them out? Or would you like me to give you some direct advice? Or should I just give up on the video channel and go to France more often? I'd love to hear your comments.
Very kind of you to offer that. Appreciate it. And yeah, folks, as I say, get over there, check it out. Paul's a great guy. Thanks so much for your time today. I know you're busy traveling and stuff, but yeah, I appreciate you coming on.